Hello again, this is Victor James, author of the Megacosm, and we're back with a new character study. Now, Sharon Valerii from Battlestar Galactica, she's an interesting character. Our first introduction to Sharon is when we learn that she's bad at docking on the Galactica, but we also learn that she's using this as an excuse to have an illicit affair with the deck chief Galen Terrell, which is against military protocol. Now, this is not the best start for an angel, but Sharon displays her heroism later when the enemy Cylons launch a massive attack on the human colonies. Sharon, along with the eco-pilot Carl, Hilo, Agathon, they trailed behind a squad of Galactica Vipers that were headed back to Caprica, providing data support when they were ambushed by the Cylons, who had perfectly infiltrated the humans' technology systems. The Vipers were remotely shut down and destroyed by the Cylons, but Sharon and Hilo were able to escape by using her deft piloting skills and pretending to be debris and drifting down to Caprica. While the Caprican cities were being bombed off in the distance in mushroom clouds, Sharon and Hilo made repairs on the Raptor and were forced to make the hard choice of which survivors to save. As one of my favorite characters on Battlestar Galactica, Hilo gave up his seat to prominent scientist Gaius Baltar, who I'll make a video about later, trust me, and Sharon flew the survivors off planet. Later, Sharon was able to locate Colonial Heavy 798, a colonial ship carrying the last civilian leadership and the new president, Laura Roslin. For hours, Sharon used her Raptor to locate stranded ships as part of Roslin's order to use Colonial Heaven 798, now called Colonial 1, as part of her rescue operation. Sharon actually eventually ran out of ships to rescue and returned to Galactica, who had retreated to rearm at Ragnar for a counterattack. Eventually, the human fleet escaped the star system, but was dogged by a Cylon base star that attacked them constantly for 5 days. In fact, we got one of the best episodes in the series, in my opinion, just showing how exhausted human pilots became as they were forced to respond to the Cylon base star's constant attacks. All except Sharon, who showed little wear as she helped the fleet in her Raptor while the other pilots were making mistakes while taking stims just to stay awake. As the colonial fleet struggled to survive, they were racked by a series of sabotages that were meant to further cripple their morale. Sharon was on the scene when the fleet's precious water supply was destroyed by G4 detonators missing from Galactica's arms locker. When the water shortage became an issue for the fleet, Sharon used her Raptor to make many FTL jumps and was able to find drinkable water on a far-off planet. But then, as rumors began to swirl that Cylons were taking on human form, the Cylons 5 series was able to somehow infiltrate the ship and nearly kill the leadership by a suicide vest. So something strange was going on aboard Galactica, and Sharon started acting to believe that maybe she was one of the Cylon infiltrators. Having the feeling she was about to do something terribly wrong, Sharon ensured that she was part of the Cylon beta test created by Dr. Baltar. Again, we'll get into Baltar one day, but he gives Sharon a clean bill of health and she can finally, put her suspicions behind her, but for a time. Later, there was a new mission where Sharon was integral when the fleet began running out of precious Tilium to power their ships. Sharon and her new eco-pilot crash down, find an asteroid being mined by the Cylons full of Tilium. Sharon aided in the capture of the asteroid, not losing civilian ships but many Viper pilots. Afterwards, Sharon's mental health began to deteriorate following that mission. And with Dr. Baltar basically saying it was okay, Sharon attempted to take her own life, but the bullet just goes to her cheek instead. While recovering, Sharon tells people that she shot herself while cleaning her gun just to avoid questioning. Commander of the Galactica, William Adama, he trusts Sharon because of her previous missions and recruits her on a secret mission. Using a transponder for a Cylon ship they had captured, Sharon and her new eco-pilot Racetrack were able to secretly take a ship directly into a Cylon base star, detonate a nuclear device. Back on the Galactica, Sharon and Racetrack were celebrated as heroes, and Adama had them brought to the bridge to receive a personal congratulation. Now what follows is probably the most shocking moment of the series, as Adama shakes Sharon's hand, and a blank-faced Sharon returns the gesture, only to shoot Adama twice. Now, you may be wondering why this person, who helped save survivors on Caprica, then worked tirelessly to find stranded ships and brought them to the fleet, and then saved the fleet twice by giving them water and Tilium, would turn on humanity and the man she saw as a father figure. And the answer is simple, it's because Sharon was right all along. The Cylons had played the long game and had infiltrated the humans with a series of human-like Cylons, and Sharon was the number 8 of that series. In fact, she had met her body doubles while on that mission to destroy the base star, but returned to Galactica anyway to hold on to her humanity. But the sabotages aboard Galactica were performed by Sharon when her Cylon side took over and carried out the plans of her people in secret. In fact, when the human side reappeared, Sharon had no idea she even shot Adama. Of course, Sharon was sent to the brig. Although she had come through for the fleet time and again, Sharon was then tortured by Colonel Ty, Adama's second in command. They then used Terrell against her, with Dr. Baltar poisoning him and letting him die unless she gave him the information they wanted. Whether it was the human or the Cylon side, Sharon finally told him that there were 8 Cylons in the fleet. Although Adama survives his assassination attempt, the vitriol against Cylons by the remaining humans is understandably high given that they had just committed genocide. While Sharon was being transferred to a new brig to hold Cylon prisoners, she was assassinated by a specialist Callie Henderson and died telling Terrell that she loved him. But this isn't the end for Sharon Valerii. She wakes up in a new body and she still tries to hold on to that humanity, teaming up with Caprica 6 to tell the Cylon leadership that maybe they were wrong about the humans. But Sharon was still determined to show that humans and Cylons could coexist. When most of the colonial fleet decides to make a home on New Caprica, a planet that they discovered could sustain human life, Sharon was part of the Cylon takeover that used Baltar as a puppet. She even visits Callie, the girl who shot her, and who also married Terrell and had his child, in the brig. She tells Callie she accepts Terrell moving on, and that she would try all she can to get her release, but Callie lashes out, not trusting a Cylon. Despite Sharon's best efforts, the relationships between humans and Cylons becomes more hostile as resistance forms led by her former lover Terrell begin sabotaging and killing Cylons. Sharon begins to question humanity's weakness, but her real downfall begins when one of her 8 clones, named Athena, chose humanity instead and had a miracle child named Hera with Hilo, her former eco-pilot. With Callie, and now Athena having everything Sharon wanted and couldn't attain, along with the disaster on New Caprica, Sharon begins to agree with the Cylon's number 1s, the Cavils, that Cylons were not meant to have children and they could not coexist with humans. Sharon begins to defy and vote against her 8 sisters in favor of Cavil, but also seems to have a change of heart when the Cylons lose their resurrection ship. Sharon escapes with Ellen, the Cylon creator, and defects back to Galactica. But when Tyrell informs the crew that she's the original boomer that originally shot Adama, she's again sent to the brig. In the brig, Sharon is visited by Chief Terrell, who she tells that she still loves him and convinces him to let her escape. But instead of returning back to Cylon space, Sharon finds and beats up Athena and then ties her up. And after sleeping with Hilo, who has no idea that she isn't Athena, she takes their child Hera back to Cavil. So Sharon Valerii is now fully in the Cylon camp. When she once was a loyal member of the human race, Sharon was manipulated by Cavil, being told that humans would never accept her. And this was actually proven right by the way they tortured her and immediately threw her in a brig when she seemingly defected back to him. But then the opposite was also true when humans praised her clone Athena as a hero, and she resented that Athena had stolen a life that should have been hers. This creates a break within Sharon, and she begins to think that something is wrong with her, that maybe she is the broken Sharon. Sharon Valerii had tried to hold on to her humanity, but was rejected by them. And then she tried to embrace her Cylon side and was never comfortable there either. Sharon tried to please both sides, but then failed in the end. I won't tell you how Boomer's story ultimately ends, but she's a classic case of a broken angel who started out on the path of righteousness, but let her resentment, jealousy, and conflicting loyalties send her spiraling. But you let me know in the comments below, was Sharon Boomer Valerii misunderstood? Was she right to dislike humans by the way she was treated, even though she tried to reach out to them with olive branch several times, but was ended up tortured and beaten? Or did she let the jealousy of Athena and Hera churn like a cancer inside until she became the villain that she originally fought against? You let me know in the comments below. So I want to remind you about my first novel, Fiasco Adventures, that's available on Amazon. It's actually available anywhere books are sold, but people like to buy from Amazon. I also have a Kindle version available where you can get it on Amazon for $9.99. And I want to remind you about my website, themegacosm.com, where I actually have my shop where you could buy it from me directly at a discount. And there's also a short story I wanted to remind you about that's available for 99 cents. It's actually selling very well these days. People are liking this story, so go ahead and pick it up. Also on my website, you can read short stories for free. So these short stories, Liquid Bank, Carry On the Cleaner, and the book, these are available for free. They're all complete. Just go ahead and read them for free. And if you're interested, you can read the first chapter of Fiasco Adventures for free, just to see if it's something that you actually want to purchase. And if my website's not your thing, go ahead and go to my Substack, where you can read pretty much the same stories on my Substack. But my website, I'm actually going to be releasing a book called The Eureka Meme pretty soon, and all my available information is going to be on my website. So go ahead and sign up to my website. You can get that information before anyone else. But that's all I want to say about this. God bless you and keep you. That's it, I'm done.